From the phone that's probably in your pocket right now to the satellites way up in orbit, wireless communication has totally changed our world. But have you ever stopped to think about how it all actually works? I mean, what are the big challenges, and what are the super clever solutions that make our connected lives even possible? Well, let's dive in and take a look at the principles that literally engineer the world we live in. Okay, so first things first, why should you care? Because the future of wireless, it's about so much more than just getting faster downloads. We're talking about a future where technology is just seamlessly woven into the fabric of our lives, a world that's smarter, safer, and more connected than we can even imagine. Just picture this, your home, right? Every single appliance, every sensor, every light switch, they're all talking to each other, totally effortlessly. A house that knows what you need before you do, that saves energy on its own, and maybe even helps provide assisted living for people who need it. That's the vision. Or how about this? A world where your doctor can keep an eye on your health in real time, no matter where you are. We're talking remote surgery, expert medical advice available in the most isolated corners of the globe, all of it made possible by super strong, super reliable wireless networks. And let's think even bigger. Automated highways, right? Where cars are all communicating with each other to get rid of traffic jams and accidents for good. Look, this isn't some sci-fi movie. This is the future that's being built right now on the foundations of wireless communication. So to really get how we're going to get there, we've got to look back at where we came from. The journey from that very first radio signal to the smartphone you're holding has been, well, incredibly fast. It's really a story about innovation just hitting the accelerator, all thanks to a few key breakthroughs that completely changed the game. Okay, what's so wild about this timeline is just how much the time gets compressed. I mean, it took decades to get from Marconi's first radio test to even a basic mobile phone service. But then just look at the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Bam! Packet radio, then 1G, then 2G digital. The pace just explodes, and that leads us straight to one of the most important shifts in, well, modern history. And this right here, this was the turning point. The switch from analog to digital back in the early 90s, that wasn't just some minor upgrade. No way. It was a full-blown revolution. All of a sudden, we could cram way more users into the same amount of space, make things way more efficient, and, this is huge, add security with encryption. This is literally the bedrock of the entire wireless world we live in today. So, that digital revolution, it created the whole ecosystem we're swimming in today. It's this collection of different wireless technologies, and each one has its own specific job. Let's break down how it all fits together. All right, so here's the key takeaway. Not all wireless is created equal. You've got cellular, which gives us that massive national, even global coverage. Then there's Wi-Fi, right? That's for high-speed internet in our homes, our offices, with a range of, say, about 100 meters. And then you have Bluetooth for all those super short-range connections like pairing your headphones, which works up to about 10 meters. They all play on the same team, but they're definitely designed for different scales. Let's zoom in on cellular for a second. This diagram shows the basic setup. Your phone is talking to a local base station, the cell tower you see everywhere. That tower then connects to something called a mobile telephone switching office, or MTSO. Now, the easiest way to think of the MTSO is like an air traffic controller. It's the brain of the local network, and its job is to route your call or your data out to the bigger global network, or the internet. It sounds pretty simple, right? But making that simple concept work for billions of people, well, that's where the massive engineering challenges come in. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because for all its amazing power, wireless communication is basically built on solving two fundamental, and I mean relentless problems that every single wireless engineer has to deal with. Okay, challenge number one is something called spectrum scarcity. Just think of all the airways around us like a giant highway. There's only a limited number of lanes, and pretty much everyone wants to drive on them at the same time. This resource is finite, it's unbelievably crowded, and companies will pay billions of dollars just for the right to use one tiny little slice of it. That means every single bit of data has to be sent as efficiently as humanly possible. And challenge number two, interference. If everyone is shouting at once on that crowded highway, signals are going to crash into each other. It's inevitable. Your phone call, your neighbor's Wi-Fi network, the local radio station, they are all fighting for the same clean air. So managing all that chaos and minimizing the interference, it's just a constant, endless battle. So how on earth do you solve that scarcity problem? Well, here is the brilliant, elegant solution.
It's called frequency reuse. The whole system carves up a city into smaller areas, or cells. The frequencies that are used in one cell, let's say the one marked C1 here, can be used all over again in another C1 cell as long as it's far enough away that they don't interfere with each other. This one single concept is the reason millions of us in a single city can all use our phones at the same time. It's literally why we call it cellular technology. Pretty clever, right?
Okay, so if frequency reuse is the key strategy on the ground, how do we manage this super scarce spectrum on a much larger scale? Well, it's a massive undertaking. It involves some really complex physics, some seriously clever engineering, and a whole lot of global regulation. This chart really gives you a feel for just how sliced and diced the airwaves are. And these are just a few of the licensed bands in the US. Each little sliver is designated for a specific service. You can see just how little room there is to breathe. And that is exactly why getting a new chunk of spectrum for something like 5G or the 6G that's coming is such a huge, monumental deal. So, once a carrier gets its slice of that spectrum, how do they let a bunch of people use it all at the same time? This is where these multiple access techniques come into play. Let's go back to that highway analogy. You could give each car its own skinny, dedicated lane. That's frequency division, or FDMA. Or you could make every car share the same single lane, but they have to take turns, going one at a time, super, super fast. That's time division, or TDMA. Or, and this is where it gets really clever, you could let everyone use the whole road at the same time, but you give each person a unique secret language, a code, so the tower can pick out who's who. That's code division, or CDMA. Today's systems are absolute masters at mixing and matching these techniques to squeeze out every last drop of efficiency. So, the next time you make a call or stream a video or do pretty much anything on your phone, just take a second to remember the incredible complexity that's happening behind the scenes. The wireless future isn't just about the cool new things we can do with our connections. It's about the brilliant engineering that makes any of it possible, fighting against the fundamental limits of physics. So the real question we have to ask is, as our demand for data grows exponentially, what new breakthroughs are we going to need to keep the airwaves from grinding to a halt?